What is good, Counter-Strike fans? Welcome back to the last episode of my HLTV fantasy for this year, for the 2025 season. We're finally here. We're at the last event of the year, the playoffs, Budapest Major 2025. A lot of the favorites went through. It is a pretty stacked playoffs. And if we take a look back at how I did in my previous fantasy, uh, again, I think I just done poorly throughout this whole major. I decided to go double face with Twist and Frozen. They went through to the playoffs, but they didn't perform that well for the price. I decided to go double G2 with Hunter and Matias, and they were close. They were close to making the playoffs. Unfortunately, they got blown out by Falcons, or I guess Falcons looked decisive to win there. And then finally, Wonderful, who actually did quite well for Navi. He's been their best player by far this year. But top 82%, 0 points. This is my worst event of the year. Just been doing poorly in general. If you take a look at the best value for money players, I mean, it was basically Furia with Dunk and Shiro like always, and then you have like Controls and Robs and Wonderful as well from there. But yeah, how we're doing in our current standings for our fantasy league. I'm basically out of it. Cashlack from Germany is currently on top with 167. Missy Ubichi getting quite close as well within 9 points, and then Hunter as well as up in there as well. So it could happen. I mean, especially because this fantasy does give out an extra 50% more points. If Cashlack has a bad event, then someone else might catch up to him. But it's looking like very likely that Cashlack might win. I'm gonna finish that last, so don't worry about me ruining this top 3. But will be interesting to see who wins that. Yeah, and also finishing within the top 1,000 is probably not happening at this stage. I performed too poorly late on. I mean, if we take a look back, started strong, then with a little bit of a bad run between Cologne, Blast Bounty, and Esports World Cup, then bounced back in the Blast Open London, group stages won Fisher, still going playoffs. They will in ESL Pro League. I think I missed one of the ESL Pro League as well events, so didn't get points from that. But then afterwards, it was kind of like some good performances, some really good performances, and then some really poor, like Chengdu in group stage and stage 3. Yeah, very inconsistent season. Only playing 19 out of 20 games. Again, I missed the ESL Pro League playoffs, which wasn't great, but yeah, hoping to have a better season next year. As for the playoffs, actually, if we look at the pick'ems real quick, I only got 3 correct, so yeah. The gold coin was dead too, so we're going for silver now. But for the pick'ems, our bracket's looking like in the top side of the bracket will be Spirit and Falcons facing each other in the first quarterfinals, Vitality Mongols. And then for the lower side, we have Furia versus Navi, and then Mouse versus FaZe. So let's start off with Spirit versus Falcons as the first matchup that we have listed here. Just really quickly, I'm gonna go through this playoffs bracket again. It's quite late as well, but just want to get this video out as my last video of the season. But Spirit versus Falcons. Spirit looked quite well. They went 3-0. Falcons struggled, went 3-2. However, there is a stat going around that Donk's worst rating against a specific opponent is against Falcons. He's putting up a measly like 1.0 something, so that's not anywhere near close Donk's level. It seems like Nico, Monesi, and Kyosuke are able to, because Donk is so willing to take duels that I feel like Monesi, Nico, and Kyosuke can also match up that level and can go for a duel against Donk and probably have a great chance against them. I mean, when Donk faces someone else for to do, it's probably a 60-40 for Donk winning, but facing against those big three from Falcons, it's probably more of a 50-50. And so if Spirit are gonna heavily rely on Donk to get through to the quarterfinals, I just don't know if they can. I mean, someone's gonna have to step up. We know Sway's not stepping out. Chopper, his calling is still a little bit iffy. Still Donko kill, and then Shiro close the round for us. Yeah, so I don't know. And then for Falcons, I mean, you still have Mondesi started waking up towards the end of the group stage. Nico is fine. He's not the star player anymore that he once was, but he's still a solid rifler. Kyosuke, I feel like might struggle a little bit sometimes with his aim, but especially when it comes to playoffs, it becomes a little bit more less tactical, and it becomes more in the moment, spur of the moment. So maybe Kyosuke wakes up on the stage. I don't know. I'm gonna lean towards Falcons. I think Falcons beat Spirit. I think Falcons will get better as the tournament goes on. But this is probably the true 50-50 of this event so far. Oh, I mean, at least of the first opening matchups. Vitality versus Mongols. Mongols did quite well to get here. I wasn't expecting it, but man, they're really, really working well with controls. He's basically replaced Sensu, so it might have been something about the system or Sensu's roles in the team that someone can come in and pick up where he left off. So that's great for Mongols, but I think Vitality will be too much. I think Saibu does need to carry a little bit harder, especially because Apex, Messi aren't doing what they were doing in the first half of the season. So yeah, I think Saibu's just gonna need to wake up a little bit more, take over a little bit more of the game, and then Robs is looking in Rob's form. He's always good. He's always good when he comes into the major. So I'm gonna go with Vitality winning that. Furia versus Navi. Navi looked really strong again in the group stage, but I think it's Furia. I think Furia as well, 3-0. They are the team to beat. The roles are very well defined in this team. Like Kesarado and Jakindar can take over games. Yuri's a solid closer, anchor type player. Fallen might be the greatest IGL of all time, and then Molozoi is the proven opper. He doesn't get insane ratings, but when you need him the most, that's when he comes in clutch. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to Furia. I think Nabi, Wonderful has looked better and he's been their best player. I think, if you can get someone like, bit off his game a little bit, someone like MS, and Makase. I think Makase's still too young. He's gonna struggle a little bit here. I think Bit as well sometimes can struggle in these type of events, especially if Furia is very likely going to, get him off his game, not get him to feel comfortable, and he has not felt comfortable at all on this whole event. He hasn't performed that well. And if Wonderful is currently being your best player and carrying you, I don't know. I feel like Molozoi should be able to stop Wonderful quite easily. So yeah, I'm gonna go Furia. And then Mouse versus FaZe. It's FaZe versus FaZe Junior basically. And my mind is telling me Mouse, but my heart is telling me FaZe. I mean, Mouse has looked strong as well. They look very well drilled, but just FaZe has the aura. You never know what Karen can come up with. Jacob has looked a lot better. Brokey's still struggling, but Jacob looked a lot better. Twist didn't look that great in the group stage. I don't know. I kind of want FaZe to win. And but the more reason, FaZe used to be dominating Mouse, but now Mouse gonna be dominating FaZe. I don't know. Probably Mouse. I think Mouse just in the overall team. I think Kerrigan might need to retire soon. He just might. Rifling wise, he's just not there. And then Jacob, he might have woke up finally, Jacob, but He does have very snappy aim, um, and if he does feel uncomfortable or he starts struggling a little bit, I feel like he could, you know, like you could lose that and you have to basically rely on Twist and Frozen because Brokey's not gonna wake up at this point. And then we have, so we have the semifinals will be Falcons versus Vitality, Furia versus Mouse. And Falcons versus Vitality, I'm going Vitality. I just don't think Falcons have enough in them. While Vitality, usually dominate the Falcons matchup. Yeah, I just think Vitality, while they haven't looked great, I think Vitality will wake up and will want to win this major by getting to the grand final. And then Furia versus Mouse. It's a Furia. I think Furia look too strong. They're gonna go in, Fallen. They're gonna want to win one for Brazil. They're gonna want to win one for Fallen. I think we're all rooting for Furia. I'm rooting for Furia personally. I want to see Fallen win again. I want to see Casarado win his first. A player at that level should win a major at this point in their career, which will give us the grand final, Vitality versus Furia. And over 5 maps, you cannot beat Fallen, so I'll go with Furia. And honestly, this is probably more bias based, but I think this is gonna be the most popular grand final that people will have. But man, this is what I hope to happen. If this happens, then we have an amazing playoffs ahead of us. I mean, the only change I would do is maybe FaZe instead of Mouse, but I don't mind it as well. I don't mind Mouse winning. I mean, I just don't really like the Mouse roster, but yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen. This is what's gonna happen. We're gonna save. Now we can go into the fantasy and let's take a look at the most picked players. So currently, the most picked player is Molodoy, with about half, close to over 40% of people choosing Molodoy. Also, Fallen's over 40% as well. So, pretty common pairing there. And Yakindar is also there for Furia, and then Fallen, and Robs from Vitality, Donk Chopper from Spirit, and then Kixan from Falcons is there as well. And we can talk about the players individually. I haven't looked too deep into the stats, so I'm not going to be able to tell you much, but from what I know, I think for Furia, let's start with Furia first of all. Casarado is the star player and he gets the highest ratings. So I would go him instead of Maldo just because he's probably less picked and they're about the same price. And while Maldo just gets a lot of the highlight, he just doesn't get the rating there. So if you were to go player for Furia, go with Casarado. But honestly, my favorite pairing will be Yuri and Jakindar. I think they're just very solid players. They come up a clutch in these type of events. I think Yuri is definitely the better pick than Jakindar. But I think you can pick both of them and feel pretty comfortable that they're going to put up solid ratings as the Furia goes on to the finals. Fallen, I don't mind at 187, but he just hasn't gotten the ratings, if you know what I mean. For Vitality, I think Saibu's a decent option if you want to go there. I think Saibu will definitely have to be the carry for this team. Otherwise, I think Robs is amazing value at 211. He's too good to be this price, and he's performed very well so far at this major. Again, I don't mind picking Flamesy as well at 205. I think Messi's a little bit overrated at 200,000, but if you have to go there, hopefully he wakes up in playoffs. Meanwhile, Apex at 184. Again, almost all the IGLs are not going to be bad. They're probably going to be your fifth option down the line, but I don't mind Apex either. For Falcons, between the two goal players, you have to definitely pick Monsi over Kyosuke. And honestly, you would pick Nico over Kyosuke as well at that price as well. So those are my favorite two options, Nico and Monasi. Tessis is probably a no-go at 191. I'd rather go and save 11,000 to get Kixen, who usually performs better rating-wise. But yeah, that's Falcons. For Mouse, they're actually quite cheap. Brawling is definitely a no-go at 185. He just doesn't get the rating. If I had to go with someone here, I'd definitely do Torchy at 199. He usually is the highest performer in the playoff stage. So 199 is pretty cheap for him. And I'd probably pair him up with someone like Sershin at 203. Well, not to go Jim Hat. He's just been too inconsistent for me so far this year. Spinks is probably a decent differential as well. For Mongols, they got one of the toughest matchups. I just don't see how Vitality lose. Again, I've been down in Mongols all major so far, especially with controls, but he's been amazing. If you want to go here, I definitely look into 910 and then probably put him with controls, or you can downgrade and pick Blitz or Techno there as well. For Spirit, it's Shiro and it's Dunk. If you can pair both of them up and you believe Spirit will win the whole thing, then you will be a top 1% in this stage, in this event. Tanier is fine at 187, but he just doesn't get high enough ratings in my opinion. Don't go Sway and don't go Chopper either. For Navi, yeah, Alexi B is fine at 175 because he's super cheap, but he just doesn't get ratings. He's gonna put up a 0.91, 0.93 maximum, and I think you can have more upside with players like Wonderful, who I really like, and then Bit. So that would be my favorite combination. I would pass on Makase for now, and rather pick Ime if you want to go there as well. And then finally for FaZe, Kerrigan is a no-go. Definitely pick Frozen, definitely pick Twist. I don't mind Jacob at 190, but could he struggle on stage? Maybe. And Brokey at 184, he's probably the best bronze, or at least has the highest upside of a bronze. But is he gonna do good? I don't know. I just don't know. Brokey's just been so inconsistent. He's probably gone after the major ends. But yeah, so we're gonna go over my team, and it's gonna be my team. Pretty standard. Double Furia, double Vitality, Yuri and Jakindar from Furia, and then Flamesy and Messi from Vitality, with a Brokey in there. Just hoping that they wake up, hoping that Furia and Vitality face each other in the finals, and that Brokey wins at least one game or does perform well against Mouse, and we should be all good. I really like all the roles as well. They all have really high trigger rates as well, so that's good. At least for the main silver players, it has high rates as well. And yeah, it's just firepower. I'm hoping for the best at this point. There's nothing for me to play for except for maybe winning something from this event, as in one of the prizes individually. But yeah, it's been a good season. Thank you for watching. If you've been watching all the episodes, I appreciate you. If you haven't, if you've been watching only a couple, I still appreciate you. I'm hoping to improve so much more for next year. I'm already thinking of some things, for example, like sharing some of the formulas that I do when it comes to picking between certain players. Maybe some tips on that, and then having that on screen. Price per money value. That'd be great as well to share, because I do keep those tracked as well. From like last month to the last 3 months, the last 6 months individually for a lot of the teams. Just trying to figure out how I would present it. But yeah, good luck, have fun, and see you next year for the next fantasy in 2026.